It's Cloud.
You're under citizen arrest. You're under citizen arrest. You're under citizen arrest.
Clavicular has spent years building his entire identity around looks, strength, and supposedly dominating every man around him. Then, a couple of days ago in Miami, an old man grabbed him, put him on the pavement, and repeatedly announced that he was placing him under citizen's arrest. But somehow, getting restrained wasn't even the most embarrassing part, because instead of admitting that he lost control of the situation, Clavicular eventually blamed his performance on something nobody could have predicted: his 3-inch high insert. I thought this dude was already tall, so I don't know why he's even wearing them. And that excuse turned a bad nightclub confrontation to possibly the greatest aura loss of 2026. Normally, seeing an influencer lose a random confrontation isn't that interesting, as it happens 24/7. People argue outside clubs every weekend, but Clavicular isn't a normal influencer. His entire brand is based on ranking people. Your height matters, your face matters, your frame matters, your ability to command respect supposedly matters. He has built an audience by explaining which men are genetically superior and which men deserve to be ignored. So when somebody whose entire philosophy is built around dominance gets controlled by a man who is not in his looksmaxxing criteria, the internet is obviously going to use his own scoreboard against him. That's why people weren't merely watching a fight, they were watching Clavicular's online character collide with real life.
I'm asking why you punched me. You took your hat, so you punched me?
That wasn't the guy that took your hat.
It wasn't to that, like, you couldn't be like, damn, like, feel me when people punch you.
Real mom.
I was punched off the rip, man. It's not that serious. It's a hat, man.
That wasn't the guy that took your hat.
According to reporting and footage circulating online, the situation reportedly began when somebody took Clavicular's hat inside a Miami nightclub. Now, losing your hat is annoying, but it isn't exactly an international emergency. Footage appears to show Clavicular becoming physical during the confrontation, while another person nearby tries to explain that he may be going after the wrong man. And this is where everything starts falling apart. Clavicular had multiple opportunities to calm the situation down. He could have found security, he could have asked for his property back, he could have realized that starting a physical confrontation inside a crowded nightclub is believably stupid. Instead, he seemingly behaved like his online status meant everybody else had to tolerate whatever he did, but once the group left the controlled environment of the club, nobody cared how much followers he had.
It's Cloud.
You're under citizen arrest. You're under citizen arrest. You're under citizen arrest.
Puedes hacer un citizen arrest de esta manera, hermano. Esa es la ley.
Hey, give me the officer. Ahora mismo. Quítate de él. Quítate de él. Get the fuck off of him. You piece of shit. Get the fuck off of my pussy.
Outside, the confrontation becomes even more chaotic. An old man grabs Clavicular and restrains him while repeatedly saying that he is performing a citizen's arrest. And before anyone turns this into some martial arts documentary, we don't know the older man's exact age, training, or full relationship to everybody involved. Some online accounts claimed he was related to the man from inside. Other reporting suggested the men may have been venue security or bodyguards, so we shouldn't invent an entire backstory from that one vertical video. What the footage does show is that Clavicular could not regain control. Police eventually arrived, separated those involved, and apparently detained him briefly while investigating. There was no confirmed new criminal charge connected to the incident at the time of the initial reporting. And once that footage reached X, Clavicular's night somehow became even worse.
He's choke maxing. He's victim maxing. He's pinned maxing. He's frame mog maxing. Humiliation maxing. Submission maxing. Waste of steroid maxing.
Within hours, every looksmaxxing phrase Clavicular had helped popularize was being thrown directly back at him. People called it pinned maxing, submission maxing, citizen arrest maxing, and one viral post described it as the biggest aura loss ever. Were the jokes immature? Obviously, but Clavicular created the language being used against him. For years, his content has encouraged viewers to treat human interaction like a permanent ranking competition. Who has the better face? Who has the stronger frame? fame, who looks richer, who controls a room. According to that worldview, perception is everything. So Clavicular cannot suddenly demand nuance when the perception makes him look weak. A normal person can lose a confrontation and move forward. Clavicular can't, because his brand says losing the confrontation lowers your social value. He designed the game, the internet simply forced him to play it.
My guy actually thinks he just cooked. I had to read that for a minute over just to think, no, this guy surely did not just say, well, you should try wrestling in 3-inch high heels, man. It's fucking difficult, man. Bro, come on. That is not the comeback you think it is. Stepping out with height boosters in your feet, fucking nose job, ear job. You are a butter boy.
Clavicular still had one chance to save himself. He could have said, I'm not a trained fighter, I was drunk, the entire situation was stupid, I shouldn't have touched anybody. Any of these responses would have been understandable. Instead, he reportedly challenges critics to wrestle while wearing 3-inch high inserts. Brother, that is not a defense. That is a second humiliation. Clavicular essentially responded to people mocking him for losing control by announcing that he was secretly walking around the nightclub with enough extra material inside his shoes to alter his balance. Even assuming that inserts genuinely affected him, nobody forced him to wear them. And nobody forced him to begin confronting people while wearing them. You cannot voluntarily equip 3 inches of artificial height and then blame the equipment when the mission goes wrong. That's like wearing flippers into a nightclub and complaining that the floor gave you a disadvantage.
I've showed as much restraint as humanly possible, and he's still getting shit on it. And also, it's extremely hard to wrestle when you're wearing fucking inserts. Come on, bro, like the 3-inch inserts, you guys gotta think about that. What are we talking about? Yeah, no, we genuinely got the best outcome, I'm pretty sure.
His friend Drago then went online and somehow made the excuse even worse. Instead of quietly allowing the conversation to disappear, Drago repeated that wrestling in high inserts was difficult and argued that Clavicular even showed restraint. This is why every influencer needs one friend capable of saying, turn the phone off, because nobody watching that footage was asking for additional technical analysis of the footwear. The issue wasn't whether Clavicular had ideal wrestling leverage, the issue was that he appeared to escalate a completely avoidable situation and then blame the embarrassing outcome on his shoes. Drago wasn't defending him, he was extending the news cycle. And this incident exposed something people have been noticing about Clavicular for months. The character is extremely convincing when he's behind a computer screen. It also works when he's surrounded by bodyguards, friends, and people who already know they are being recorded, but whenever he enters an uncontrolled environment, the performance starts looking different. The confidence becomes awkwardness, the dominance becomes an argument, and once somebody refuses to play their assigned role, Clavicular appears completely unprepared. That doesn't mean losing a physical confrontation makes somebody worthless, it doesn't. But that is the exact lesson Clavicular's own ideology refuses to understand. You cannot spend years describing life as a brutal competition based on appearance and power, then become upset when viewers judge your embarrassing moments using those same rules.
Clavicular got in some fight, then he was pinned down for like 10 minutes. And this is from a week ago when he went on, well, I think a couple days ago, he was on the Piers Morgan show, and he says, I went to Israel, but I'm not going to go to Gaza because they're the losers. They're losers, so I'm going to be twerking in Tel Aviv. Well, based off that logic, I think we should side with that Tony Soprano guy, that balding chud who pinned you down for 10 minutes. Based off that logic, if we're going to side with the winner, that's the new look. He frame mogged you. He got frame mogged by the bald Gen X chud. It's over. I mean, that's your logic, right? Side with the victor. And his friend Drago was trying to stop it. I mean, it's like W friend, but it's just looking humiliating. I wanted to see the best in Clavicular, but when he started saying that, when he did an Israeli propaganda tour, it's like, I can't be friends with you, all right? Use his logic against him. He wants to ascend. He says he's not a political guy. He says that he is just trying to make money. I'm money maxing. Okay, so then you're going to side with the victor. Then when you get beat up by Tony Soprano, I'm going to go side with Tony Soprano because he's the winner and you're the loser. That's your own logic. By your logic, you are the loser that we should not pay attention to. We want to ascend. You got frame mogged by Tony Soprano. Your ideology's demonic.
Even Sneeko, out of all people, used Clavicular's own philosophy against him. His point was simple. Clavicular repeatedly talks about siding with winners, respecting strength, and treating success like proof that somebody deserves attention. So, under Clavicular's own logic, viewers should now ignore him and support the older man who restrained him. Obviously, that is a ridiculous way to judge whether somebody is right. Winning a confrontation doesn't automatically make your beliefs correct, but that's precisely why the criticism works. Sneeko wasn't introducing a new moral system, he was demonstrating how stupid Clavicular's existing system looks once Clavicular is no longer the person benefiting from it.
I haven't had alcohol in a long time.
Your outfit sucks.
Oh, sorry about that. I hate to disappoint you.
This is also why so many people were ready to celebrate his embarrassment. It wasn't only about one nightclub. Viewers have repeatedly watched Clavicular enter real-world environments expecting everyone to recognize his internet status. When people don't react the way he expects, his response often appears to be blaming the location, the audience, or the people around him. The pattern is always similar. Clavicular enters expecting admiration, reality gives him indifference or resistance. Then he returns online with an explanation for why the environment was wrong, and that is ultimately the opposite of confidence. A genuinely confident person doesn't need every room to confirm that they're important. Clavicular appears to need constant confirmation, which might explain the security, the status displays, the high inserts, and the obsession with ranking everyone's appearance. The entire performance is supposedly about superiority, but underneath it, the character seems terrified of being perceived as ordinary. The Miami footage didn't become viral because physical confrontations are rare, it became viral because it confirmed what more viewers are beginning to believe about Clavicular, that his online personality and his real world personality are two completely different people. Online, he is the Mog Prince. He ranks everyone, he controls the room, nobody can challenge him. In Miami, an argument over a hat ended with a middle-aged man holding him on the pavement while his friend desperately discussed the physics of high inserts. That doesn't prove Clavicular is physically weak, it proves something much worse for his brand. The second reality stopped cooperating with the character disappeared. And when your entire identity depends on never looking embarrassed, getting citizen arrested by somebody old enough to be your father isn't merely an L, it's a complete system failure.